John McDonnall, a new day, a new promise. What have you got?
What we're launching today is a pledge to pensioners. First of all, to protect their pensions in the future. The government has not given a commitment about the triple lock for the future. This is about how pensions get protected if so they go up with earnings or with inflation or with 2.5% basically. So in that way pensions are protected. But also we're saying that we will protect the winter fuel allowance, the concessionary fares. We want to do something for those women where the government has speeded up the matching of the women's retirement age with men. We want to offer them pensions credit so they're not suffering as a result of that. And also there's been an anomaly for quite a while now where pensioners who retire abroad to places like Canada, New Zealand, Australia don't have their pensions operating in the way that others pensioners who retire to other countries do. So there's 4 pledges there that we want to commit ourselves to when we go into government.
Now, there may be a couple of reasons. There may be. I may be cynical here, but a couple of reasons why you may be doing this. One is you've recently become a pensioner, haven't you?
Yes, but this is a personal passion of mine, but not just for me.
Yeah.
I've been campaigning on this, particularly this link with, well, the triple lock, but I've been campaigning on the way in which Mrs. Thatcher broke the link between pensions and earnings in the 1980s, and literally it's been a personal passion of mine for the last 30 years. And that's why I supported, why I supported a Conservative government when they introduced the triple lock. That's why I don't want them to abandon it.
Okay, well, we understand that, and I just wanted to point out you were a pensioner because people wouldn't believe it unless I actually said it there. Yeah, right? So
you cheer me up, Eamon. You cheer me up.
Well, now this bit mightn't cheer you up. There are also more voters over 65 than any other age group, and they turn out at elections. They vote, and you know they vote. Could I put it to you, John McDonnell, that maybe this is an attempt to buy their vote?
If I hadn't been campaigning on this for the last 30 years, I would be, well, I'd react in that with the same sort of question. But if you look at my history on this, literally I've been on platform after platform, campaigning with the National Pensioners Convention, holding public meetings in Parliament, moving amendments to budgets in the past under all governments, trying to get this link restored. That's why I supported a Conservative government when they introduced the triple lock. What I don't want now is a government, well, I don't want an incoming government dropping it. That's why I'm pledging that a Labour government will stick to that promise. I've asked this of Philip Hammond, the current Chancellor, will he give a commitment on the triple lock for the future? And he's refused to. And that really put pensioners, well, I think that puts them at risk for the future, and I want to resolve that today. The government could come forward now. The Chancellor today could come forward and say, OK, I'll match you. And I hope he does. But if he doesn't, a Labour government will legislate to protect pensions in the future.
John, we just want to explain what the triple lock is. I mean, the state pension will rise each year. It'll be guaranteed if the triple lock stays in place by either, whatever one of these is the highest, price inflation, average earnings growth, or 2.5%, whichever is the highest.
So it guarantees a good income, doesn't it? Now, everybody wants to see those who worked hard all their life get a good pension. So we're all behind that. There are those that argue that actually pensioners are doing rather well and that their pension is going up better, for instance, than average wages have gone up. And that's something that they would expect Labour to be looking at more.
Well, let's be clear about this. There are now 1.9 million pensioners in our country living in poverty. That's gone up over the last year from 1.6 to 1.9. So nearly 2 million pensioners are still living in poverty. That's unacceptable in the 6th richest country in the world. And that's happened over years because of this break in the 1980s by Mrs. Thatcher, the link between pensions and earnings. That's why the triple lock is so important. It needs to be installed in law so pensions are protected. But at the same time, of course, we want wages to be protected too. That's why we've introduced a real living wage of £10 an hour, and we're campaigning for that. And again, we're saying to the government, that's what we want you to commit yourselves to now. If you don't, well, when a Labour government comes in at the next election, we certainly will.
Shadow Chancellor, if this policy wasn't enough to swing the next election for you, would you retire?
I don't think I'll ever retire because I want to ensure that we have a decent society, and I'll continue campaigning for that in whatever role I'm in. But let me just say this. I'm hoping by launching these pledges today that actually the government will respond and say, I'll match you. We'll match Labour. If they don't, in this coming period, we'll be putting amendments to legislation to try and ensure the triple lock is protected in law. If the government refuses, as soon as a Labour government is elected at the next election, we'll introduce it, we'll ensure it's legislated for. We cannot allow pensioners to have their, well, to slip back into poverty again. Yeah. And as I say, we've got nearly 2 million. And you know, this is good for young people as well, because the young people today are the pensioners of tomorrow. They'll be dependent on the state pension as well. So therefore, we need to ensure the state pension is protected for the long-term future for everybody.